Many people mistakenly believe that aging inevitably leads to weakened legs. However, it's actually how you move that dictates how gracefully you age. For millions over 50, a quiet crisis of movement has slowly eroded strength, stability, and independence. Yet, in Japan, a different narrative unfolds. Elders there aren't just living longer, they're thriving, maintaining remarkable balance, strength, and flexibility well into their 80s, 90s, and even beyond 100. In this episode, Japan's oldest doctor will unveil the daily movement ritual that Japanese elders utilize to preserve their strength and independence, and demonstrate how anyone over 50 can adopt it starting today. Welcome back to the Senior Health Podcast. Today, we're exploring simple, floor based movements that have been practiced in Japan for nearly a century, requiring no gym, weights, or expensive equipment. This is particularly relevant because in Japan, over 95,000 people live past 100, with most remaining active, independent, and relying on minimal medications. In stark contrast, in the US, the average person's health declines by age 66, leading to over a decade spent in pain, weakness, and overall decline. Doctor, how is this profound difference even possible? It's indeed a shocking statistic, John. And that gap isn't solely about medicine, it's fundamentally about movement, what we've never learned to do with our own bodies, and sadly, what we've forgotten we could do. That's a profound way to begin. And honestly, I believe that resonates deeply with many listeners. So, to everyone tuning in, consider this episode your lifeline when it comes to preserving your independence. All the time, John, people over 50 approach me with complaints they perceive as inevitable. I'm just getting old, they say. My legs don't work like they used to. But in Japan, we've demonstrated something different. We've proven that strength and mobility are not age bound, they are habit bound. What we're going to discuss today isn't theoretical. These are six genuine movements performed daily by elders across Japan. No costly machines, no gym memberships, just positions that restore the body's natural design. They activate essential muscle chains, improve circulation, and rebuild confidence, especially after 60. We'll walk through all six movements today, one by one. I'll explain their origins, their physiological benefits, and how anyone, regardless of their current fitness level, can begin. And if you stay with us until the end, you can request our free detailed exercise sheet by leaving a comment. That exercise sheet truly is a gift, doctor. So, what you're suggesting is that the pain, stiffness, and weakness we experience might be very real. But if we misinterpret the cause, we risk pursuing entirely the wrong solution. Precisely. And in chasing the wrong solution, we lose precious time, vital strength, and often our independence. But we can rectify that. Let's begin. It's not always major injuries that diminish our strength, it's the small things we gradually cease doing. We stop getting on the floor, we stop stretching, and slowly our range of motion disappears. So, what's the very first movement you teach seniors over 50? I always begin with shikodachi. It translates to four legged stance or sumo stance, but please don't let the name intimidate you. It's not about size or brute force, it's about grounding. This posture teaches your legs how to support you once more. After 60, the thighs, glutes, and hips tend to forget their essential role. This position gently but powerfully reminds them, and it's precisely why Japanese elders maintain such strong legs, even at 90. That's truly incredible, especially since we tend to shy away from any form of squatting in Western senior care. It's often perceived as risky or unnecessary. And yet, that's precisely why we decline. We avoid the very movements that are crucial for maintaining our independence. The body doesn't fail due to use, it fails due to disuse. So, how exactly does Shikodachi work, particularly for someone who hasn't done anything remotely similar in years? You begin with a wide stance, feet positioned about twice the width of your shoulders, with your toes angled out slightly. Then, slowly lower your hips as if you're about to sit down between your legs. Not a deep squat, just enough to feel your leg muscles engage. Keep your chest lifted and your spine neutral. If balance is a concern, use a wall or a sturdy chair for support. You only need to hold it for 30 seconds to start. That's sufficient to re engage the exact muscle chains responsible for climbing stairs, standing up from a chair, and walking with ease. You're describing the glutes, quadriceps, and inner thighs, the same muscles that protect the knees and hips, correct? Yes, and especially the inner thigh muscles, the adductors. They are frequently overlooked, but are absolutely essential for pelvic stability and coordination. Shikodachi brings them back to life. That perfectly explains why elders in Japan not only live longer, but also move with greater fluidity. We're accustomed to thinking of squats in a gym context, often with heavy weights, but this isn't about intensity. It's about reactivating natural posture and strength, isn't it? Correct. In fact, biomechanical studies from both Tokyo University and the American Journal of Geriatric Physical Therapy show that isometric holds like Shikodachi recruit more muscle fibers than typical bodyweight squats. It's also safer, no joint loading, no bouncing. You're building strength simply by holding yourself upright, and that sustained holding builds deep stability. Another benefit is hip opening. Tight hips are one of the biggest contributors to back pain and instability after 60. Shikodachi gently reverses decades of tension caused by prolonged sitting. That's why people report feeling more mobile after just a few weeks of practice, even if they don't significantly increase the duration. The position itself recalibrates your center of gravity. So, what's a good progression for someone starting from scratch? Begin with 20 to 30 seconds. Do it once a day. When your legs feel steadier, gradually increase to a minute. The key is consistency, not perfection. This isn't about becoming a sumo wrestler, it's about making your legs your allies again. It's powerful to hear you say that because I think many listeners assume their legs are failing them when in reality they've just been neglected. And this position offers a way to rebuild trust in your own body. It's strong yet forgiving, which makes me curious. After we've reactivated our strength, how do we begin rebuilding balance? What's the second movement? Doctor, balance begins with how you stand, but more importantly, how you shift your weight. Therefore, we utilize the Nekawashi Dachi or cat foot stance. It trains the body to operate on alert, not tense, but responsive. We ask the front foot to become light, almost weightless, while the back foot bears the majority of the load. It reawakens the stabilizer muscles that become dormant when we rely too heavily on shoes, chairs, or even smooth flooring. So instead of bracing yourself, you're learning to subtly feel your way through space again, much like a cat walking along a narrow ledge. Exactly. In fact, the stance originates from karate, where readiness and balance are paramount. It was designed not for attack, but for precise control. And I imagine most seniors don't realize how many of those small, deep muscles they're no longer engaging until they desperately need them to prevent a fall. That's the trap. We only notice balance when we've lost it. But Nekawashi Dachi can retrain that system before it fails. It targets the intrinsic muscles of the feet, the small ones that shape your arch and connect to your brain's sense of position. It activates the ankle stabilizers, hip rotators, and transverse core muscles. All of these engage in one simple pose held with intention. What's particularly interesting is that studies from Osaka University have shown this posture increases neuromuscular coordination after just 2 weeks of daily practice. It's not just strength, it's about timing, sequencing, and awareness. You hold the stance for 30 seconds on each side, and you begin to feel your foot learning again. Even people with neuropathy report improved connection and control. That's a bold claim, and yet it makes perfect sense because you're not just building muscles, you're rebuilding the communication between your body and your brain, correct? Balance isn't merely located in the legs, it's a full body relationship. And most people perceive balance as something you either possess or don't, like a trait that diminishes with age. But what you're saying is that balance is a skill we can sharpen, and a skill we must sharpen before life forces us to. Nekawashidachi doesn't demand perfect coordination to start. You can perform it next to a chair for support. The first day you may wobble, but that's a good thing. Wobbling signifies your nervous system attempting to reconnect. With each attempt, your body becomes smarter. So once we've rebuilt balance and lower body strength, what's the next movement Japanese elders incorporate into their daily routine? We call it Seiza in Japanese. It simply means proper sitting, but the effect it has on the body is profound. It teaches your spine how to support itself again, not through tension, but through natural alignment. And more importantly, it reverses the hip tightness that causes so many of the postural problems we mistakenly attribute to aging. So, this isn't just about sitting differently, It's about retraining the muscles that keep us upright. Yes, CISA stretches the hip flexors and quadriceps while subtly activating the deep core muscles. You're not slouching or bracing, you're held upright by your own internal scaffolding. And the position itself inherently demands a certain kind of presence, doesn't it? You can't perform it mindlessly, your entire body has to participate. That's precisely why it was used for centuries in tea ceremonies and meditation. It cultivates stillness with underlying structure, but the health benefit is what truly surprises people. After just a few weeks of practicing Seiza for a few minutes a day, we observe positive changes in how people walk, breathe, and sit throughout their day. It realigns the pelvis, reduces forward head posture, and even improves digestion. The science supports it too. Research from Kyoto University found that seated postures like Seiza engage the transverse abdominis and spinal erectors at levels comparable to modern core training without a single crunch or plank. And because you're seated on your heels, you decompress the lower back while gently stretching the knees and ankles, areas that stiffen quickly after 60. It's functional, not merely decorative. You're restoring the very foundation of upright movement. It's interesting because most people avoid positions like this, believing they're detrimental to the knees, but you're asserting that it actually helps restore joint function. With the right modifications, yes, if the knees are sensitive, you can place a firm cushion between the hips and heels. That reduces pressure while still allowing you to reap the postural benefits. That's an important point because accessibility matters. People need to understand they can start from wherever they are. And I truly appreciate what you said about internal scaffolding. That's such a different approach than bracing or forcing posture. It's more about remembering how to naturally stack the body. So, what movement comes next? Next is Zazen. It translates to seated meditation, but don't perceive it as solely mental. It's deeply physical. In Zazen, the spine becomes your anchor. It strengthens the deep postural muscles that conventional exercises often miss, and it teaches the body to be still without collapsing. So, this differs from mere relaxation. It's more akin to alert stillness. Exactly. The posture appears effortless only when the correct muscles are engaged. You sit upright not through tension, but through balance. And how does that translate into improved physical function? Does this enhance movement or primarily internal states? Both. Studies from Keio University, published in the Journal of Integrative Neuroscience, have shown that Zazen activates the parasympathetic nervous system while increasing multifidus and psoas engagement. That means it calms the body while simultaneously strengthening it from the inside out. Over time, this improves breathing, digestion, and spinal alignment. You begin by sitting cross-legged, ideally in lotus position if possible, but any comfortable seated posture will suffice. The key is to keep the spine upright but not forced. Chin slightly tucked, shoulders relaxed, hands resting gently. The goal isn't to meditate perfectly, it's to remain present in the posture, breathing steadily. Just 5 minutes a day can transform how you carry yourself, both physically and emotionally. That's a striking idea that the way you sit could impact not just posture, but also the nervous system. And it does. A calm posture creates a calm mind. It's a synergistic loop. It's a posture we rarely practice in modern life, yet it appears to be a gateway to deeper strength. And I imagine for many seniors, this offers a gentle way to reconnect with their body without needing equipment or intense effort. That said, once that deep core is engaged, what's the next movement Japanese elders perform daily? We call it kibadachi. It's known as the horse riding stance, and it's one of the most effective ways to safely build leg strength after 60. Unlike dynamic squats, Kibadachi develops power through stillness. It teaches the legs to stabilize laterally, which is a direction most seniors never train, and that's precisely why they lose balance when shifting sideways. So it's more than just strength, it's multi-directional control. Yes, and it trains muscles most people don't even realize they possess. The abductors, adductors, deep glutes, all working together in harmony. And I imagine it also addresses the hips, particularly the kind of tightness that accumulates from decades of sitting. It does. In fact, Kibadachi begins with hip alignment. You adopt a wide stance, wider than shoulder width, and lower your hips as if sitting on an invisible horse. The spine remains upright, chest open, core engaged. Feet stay flat, and the knees track over the ankles, not collapsing inward. It's a demanding posture, but because it's static, there's very little joint strain. Japanese martial artists hold it for minutes at a time, but for elders, even 30 seconds is transformative. It strengthens the thighs, glutes, and hips all at once. And most importantly, it trains proprioception, your body's ability to sense its position in space. That's what helps prevent stumbles on uneven ground or during quick turns. That last part is key because it's often those small missteps that lead to falls, and they are preventable. Kibadachi builds the kind of real world strength that makes you sure footed again. What I appreciate about this is how little you need. No gym, no weights, just your body, the floor, and a few minutes of focused attention. But now I'm curious. After all this strength and alignment, how do Japanese elders test that everything's working together? And they're preventable. Kibadachi builds the kind of real world strength that makes you sure footed again. So this isn't about reps or motion, it's about sustained engagement. Yes, isometric holds demand quiet focus and genuine strength. There's no momentum to assist you, just your own body. And what's happening physiologically during that hold? Why is it so powerful? Several things occur. Studies from the Tokyo Metropolitan Geriatric Hospital show that wall squats activate the quadriceps, glutes, hamstrings, and core more evenly than dynamic squats, but with significantly less joint pressure. The static position also promotes muscle capillarization, which means better blood flow and oxygen delivery throughout the legs. That's vital for people with slow recovery, poor circulation, or early stage sarcopenia. At the same time, the isometric stress improves neuromuscular recruitment, helping the body learn how to engage more muscle fibers simultaneously. And because you're in full control, you can make micro adjustments to ensure proper alignment, such as keeping knees over ankles and the spine neutral. For those with knee issues, adding a soft ball between the knees helps maintain joint tracking and activates the adductors. I like that you can scale the challenge without compromising safety. That's the beauty of it, simplicity that adapts to any level. And I can see how this provides people with a reference point, something they can improve upon week by week. There's a sense of progress without needing machines or external measurements, and perhaps that's why it's so empowering. But I know many listeners are probably wondering, how do you take all these movements and actually fit them into a day without it becoming a burden? It's not about doing everything at once, it's about consistency, not intensity. Japanese elders integrate these movements into morning and evening rituals, short, intentional, and repeatable. Just 5 to 15 minutes a day creates strength that compounds over time, so it becomes an intrinsic part of the rhythm of your life, not a separate task. Exactly. In the morning, you gently awaken the body with Seiza, then Zazen, followed by Nekawashi Dachi. At night, you focus on restoration and rebuilding with Shikodachi, Kibadachi, and a final wall squat. And what about progression? How do they know when to do more or less? It's guided by how the body feels, not by arbitrary numbers. In the first 2 weeks, the primary focus is simply learning the shapes, how to stack the joints, how to breathe. You're training awareness as much as you're training muscles. Weeks 3 and 4, you gradually increase the hold times, perhaps by 15 or 30 seconds each week. There's no rush. After a month, many elders begin to explore small variations. Gentle arm movements within the stance, subtle shifts in balance, even closing the eyes to enhance proprioception. It transforms into something playful, not a chore. That's the essence of Kaizen, small, continuous improvement. And when practiced daily, even briefly, it rewires your brain to seek movement instead of avoiding it. That shift from discipline to desire, that's when it becomes sustainable and joyful because it's no longer just exercise, it's identity. That's such a powerful note to conclude on. I believe what you've offered people today isn't merely a routine, it's a way of perceiving themselves differently. And if you would like this routine on a clear exercise sheet, complete with all tips and tricks tailored to your individual ability, please leave us a comment and we will send you the link.